It's time for Baseball's Last Frontier, Stories from the Pecos League, the podcast that will open your door to baseball's entry level, telling you the stories of the teams, players, and coaches of an independent minor league circuit. I'm your host, Bruce McClure, and I have the pleasure of introducing to you my friend, partner, co-host, and maybe chess champion, Evan Katz. Evan, what's going on?
Yeah, chess. Off times for ball players, always looking for stuff to do. And was it Blackwell? Blackwell. We were in Blackwell, Oklahoma for 5 days. I was in Trinidad, Colorado. I guess I forget even when it was, but I was getting coffee with left-handed pitcher Ben Smith, who's from Massachusetts. He went to Worcester State. And we were getting coffee, and it was one of those funky coffee shops, and there was a game area, and Ben spotted a chess set over there, and he said, "Do you play?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "It's been a long time, and frankly, probably decades since I played an adult match." And we played, and I lost. Just too rusty. Ben is also he's an aggressive pitcher, and he's also an aggressive chess player. So I mean, he just I wasn't paying attention, and he just rolled over me pretty quickly. So I told Ben I'd buy a chess set at a thrift store so we could play during our downtime on the road. We had some time in Blackwell, and Ben had said to me, again, being a confident young man, said it would take 9 games for me to finally beat him. And I said, "Okay, Ben, we'll see." Well, I just want to go and put it on the record. His challenge motivated me. We played 2 games in Blackwell, and I beat him in the second game. So, and I will reveal my strategy. That
Okay.
I knew he was a stronger player than me because he's played timed matches and he's played people that are, on the ratings boards and stuff. And so I knew, especially early in the game when the board is complex, I wasn't going to be able to keep track of all the nuances and things that were developing. So after I lost the first game, in the next game, I traded pieces, another trade, another trade, another trade, because I felt like if I simplified the board, I'd be able to follow things more clearly. And I was able to. I gained a small advantage and won. So I just want to say the moral of the story is when you challenge someone's competitive side, it's at your own risk.
So, from what I understand, the rumor of the Pecos League is this is Evan's last episode of the year of the podcast. I'm going to have to do the rest of it solo because he's going to be going off to the World Chess Championships. And I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I suppose we're going to have to watch that too. I'm going to have to come up with a name for a new podcast, eh?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with the chess. I'll give you a little teaser that will fill our listeners in later. I'm going to have to find another player, and I'll give people the background on that in last licks. But a
Okay.
couple of other players walked by, and I actually got a better chess set because the one that we had, one of the pieces fell to the floor and broke. So I went to a thrift store in Blackwell, and I want to say the chessboard prices, the chess set prices in Blackwell are way better than the thrift store prices in Trinidad. I paid $4 for a chess set in Trinidad, and I only paid $1 in Blackwell.
All right. So if you're shopping for a chess set,
Yeah,
that's where you want to go. So
yeah.
love it. So we've specifically kept this podcast non-commercial, no sponsorships or anything like that. We do this for the fun of it, to give the Pecos League a little bit of exposure and have a little fun while Evan is on the road. But I've been told that Sleep Inn is now the official hotel of this podcast. Is that true?
That is true. We should also let our listeners know that we did try to find a sponsor for the podcast before the season started, but we couldn't convince anybody. I tried a couple of people. I even tried a baseball agent, and but they said
Just
that
blew our cover.
our market was different than their market. They were a certified MLB agent, and they weren't going to get any players under contract through the Pecos League, most likely. But there's over 400 sleep-in locations in 44 states, according to its parent company, Choice Hotels. But its support of baseball's last frontier, Stories from the Pecos League in Blackwell and Garden City, it really deserves recognition. So we're going to if we're gonna maybe make them maybe not the official hotel, the unofficial hotel. I don't know what the designation is. I don't know what if you have to actually have a financial transaction to become the official hotel, but these two sleep-in hotels have given us free access to function rooms for interviews. We've recorded a bunch of our episodes, our 9 episodes. So this is our 10th, which is being recorded from the sleep-in in Garden City in their guest rooms. But I also want to give a huge shout out to the Blackwell Sleep-In. The manager of the hotel offered to wash and dry the players' uniforms overnight for 3 nights. Now we're playing in Blackwell. It's in the mid-90s. It's humid. These guys come back from the game and their uniforms are a mess. And we were there for 5 days. For the last 3 nights we were there, the players dropped off their uniforms, threw them in the yellow laundry basket. Overnight, they threw the entire load of uniforms, socks, underwear, towels, what was ever in there, into the commercial washer and the commercial dryer, and left that basket out the next morning for the players to collect their gear. To have that service after playing those games was huge. So here's a huge shout out to the Sleep-In and Choice Hotels in Blackwell and to their corporate office. Thank you very much for your support of this podcast and the North Platte 80s.
I think you found a new clubby to help you out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, well, you can be sure I filled out the comment card and put all kinds of exclamation points on there so they knew how much we appreciated.
Now, well, here's hoping that gets a guy a raise.
Yes, yes.
So I live in the burgeoning metropolis of New London, New Hampshire. Don't blink driving through because you'll miss it. And a lot of my friends from New York have asked me repeatedly, so what's it like living in the country? And I have to laugh because it's really not the country. I can go further out here in New Hampshire and find myself some real country, cows, good country air and all. And one of the things you asked me while we were preparing for this podcast today was, is the country wave a guy thing? And I mean, at least up here, I think it's just a thing in general, but what do you think?
Well, this is a non-scientific survey or analysis that I did. So in Blackwell, when I don't go to the gym, I walk a couple miles on a nearby country road, and it is a country road. It runs by I-35, and there's a couple of hotels out there, but it's way far it's several miles from downtown Blackwell, and it's just cornfields, and it's beautiful, and the birds are out there, and it's really quiet. And it's the same one where a couple of weeks ago, when I looked out of place with my workout gear, a concerned pickup driver stopped to make sure my car hadn't broken down. So I was definitely out of place, and a city guy in the town of Blackwell of 5,000. I walk against traffic, so the drivers and I can see each other well. And then the male drivers, usually in pickup trucks or bigger, I get a subtle wave. Now, it's not like a wave of the hand. It's the lifting of a few fingers off the steering wheel. It is a very low-key acknowledgement. And I acknowledge them with a gentle wave of my hand down at my side, just like a shake of my hand. I don't have a steering wheel to lift my fingers off of. Nothing more. If I raised my arm with a full hand wave, that would be like responding to a handshake with a bear hug. You just don't do it. So pretty regular from the guys, almost all of them. The women drivers, rarely an acknowledgement based on my unscientific analysis. So with the stereotypical non-communicative males, we're always accused of not showing our feelings and not communicating. It seems that they're the ones that are offering more rural greetings. I think we've got to send this on to the sociologists for a full analysis for an explanation.
Or if there's any sociologists listening to this broadcast, get a hold of us and let us know what you think about this subject, because I don't know. He talks about city boy in the country. When I came up here to New London years ago, many of you who have hung on with us for the past 2 years know that I'm an interior decorator and I've run a few furniture stores. And one of my very first days with my last placement, I'm on the floor. I greet a client, and the guy doesn't say hi, low, or boo. Now he's in his flannel shirt, jeans, and his dirty work boots. I couldn't care less how the guy's dressed. He's a client that comes into my building. I'm going to greet him and make sure he feels welcome. He doesn't say hi, low, or boo. He says, "You ain't from around here, are you?" And I'm kind of staring, and I blink a couple of times, and I finally said, "How do you know?" And he looks at me and says, "Your hair's combed, your tie's straight, and your shoes are shined." And I'm like, "All right, you got me." He says, "New York or LA?" I'm like, "Oh, geez, come on." Ah. So, yeah, I stuck out like a sore thumb up here for a while.
Well, I got to mention one other thing that I'm getting used to, but I still don't fully appreciate. I am called sir all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Gentlemen,
Yep.
thank you, sir. And it is definitely a regional thing. That does not happen. I don't know where it changes, but it does not happen in the Northeast. I am called sir by some of the players when I'm not called coach, if it's a different context or timing or whatever. Stores everywhere. Yes, sir. No, sir. I said, wow, this is different.
Yeah, when I went to Dallas for the SABR convention that happened just a few weeks ago, anytime I went to a service destination, such as the coffee shop, the restaurant, both ballparks we went to, if I had a penny, let alone a nickel for every time I was called sir, I could retire right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I get that sum up here, especially if I'm going farther north into Vermont or closer to
really?
Maine. But yeah, you're right. That's very interesting. The respect that people are given, just in general, I think it's a regional thing, depending upon speed of lifestyle. But I mean, now we're branching off into sociology. Let's move this along and talk about last week in our games against Blackwell. What happened last week, man?
Right. We come into Blackwell knowing that head-to-head matchup's important for playoff seeding. We get all worked up, ready to go. The first game, we get walked off 12-11 in the bottom of the ninth. One-run games are really a curse for the 80s. Our one-run game record is now 2-9. We were down 2-1 in the second, 5-1 in the second. We tied it up in the fifth. We were up 8-6 in the sixth and 11-10 in the eighth. But we had 6 errors overshadowed a solid start by Joe Behrens. Ryan Lutinski, who's going to be our guest in today's show, hit a home run, and there was a 2-run pinch hit single by John Hamowitz. All those good aspects of the game were overshadowed by giving up the lead and getting walked off. We bounced back, though, the next day, July 16th, for a 14-6 win. We jumped out to a 7-2 lead, thanks to a Kobe Tweeten grand slam in the fourth. Blackwell narrowed it to 7-6 in the fifth, but 7 late game runs iced it. Eddie Cafton, who's becoming our multi-inning relief specialist, threw 3 scoreless innings in relief and contributed a 2-run single. The 17th, we were rained out, and I have to say that after playing 2 games in the brutal 95+ degree heat, there's probably a lot of players who were thankful. I can tell you I was. We were rained out. It won't be made up like most Pecos League games, and one of the reasons is the schedule has very few shared off days, and the geographical spread of the teams makes traveling by car difficult. But more importantly, even though you're in town for a long series, double headers are hard to schedule, as most of the team personnel that provide support, the ticket sellers, the announcers, concession staff, they usually have day jobs. So it makes starting games before 6:30 a challenge that's really hard to overcome. We did have one rescheduled game in North Platte earlier this year that we had a doubleheader at 5. But before we could get back to the league office to make it happen, we had to make sure we could get people to the park. July 18th, we had a pitcher's duel with 80s all-star right-handed pitcher Pierce Salbago facing fly-catchers all-star shortstop right-handed pitcher Marcus Bracey. We had a rare scoreless tie through 4 innings. when Salbago hit a home run for a 1-0 lead, and 4 batters later, Rico O'Reilly made it 3-0 with his 6th home run of the season. Bracy, who was also the All-Star Home Run Derby champ, hit a 2-run home run in the 6th to make it 3-2. But again, the bullpen, Edwin Cavillo, John Lugering, and Corey Stewart held Blackwell scoreless. Caleb Copeland's home run made it 4-2 in the 7th, and the 80s stretched it to a final 7-2 score. Errorless baseball really makes a difference, holding a team to 2 runs. Salbago won his 4th game. We went 4 games over 500, and now in 2nd place after this game in the division, and we would give us home field advantage if we can sustain it.
There you go.
Which we did last night.
Yes.
Home run derby. Got to mention Blackwell. It's 310 down the line and only 340 to center field. So one of the smallest parks to all fields. So there are games where there were a lot of home runs. Last night, the wind was blowing out. Home run derby, the first 2 innings. Blackwell hit 4 home runs. Sean Bennett, our catcher last night, hit his first of the season, and Alex Kornblau hit his 3rd. But Blackwell was ahead 8-5. But the 80s bullpen again shut out the flycatchers for the last 7 innings. Eddie Cafton, 3 innings. Jake Boucher, 2 innings. John Lugering in the 8th and Corey Stewart in the 9th gave up just 3 hits. North Platte scored 9 runs to win 14-8 with a 3-run homer from Aiden Diltz and a 2-run homer from Rico Riley, who also made a breathtaking catch for the first out of the 9th inning to get that last inning going in the right direction. So the 80s are ahead of Blackwell right now, going into the last 9 games of the season. So you're going to be hearing us talking about continuing to win so we can get home field advantage for that first wild card round.
So this puts you in a good position.
As of today, success can be fleeting. Baseball is a funny game. Momentum changes, weird things happen, but we're feeling pretty confident right now with 3 wins in Blackwell, traveling here to Garden City.
Baseball is always a funny game. It's a little funnier game in the Pecos League with the altitudes and the scoring, and it's a wild game out there.
Yep, as we always say, anything can happen in the Pecos League, and I'm sure we'll have more to share next week as we get closer to the end of the season.
For sure. So you interviewed Ryan Lutinski this week, didn't you?
Ryan Lutinski, he's in his 2nd year with the 80s and is ready for anything, just like the Pecos League. When he's not warming up pitchers in the bullpen, he pinch hits with aplomb, plays right field, does field maintenance at Bill Wood Field in North Platte. He was also willingly drafted by his teammates to participate in the All-Star Game Home Run Derby, even though he wasn't named to the team. He traveled to Garden City just to watch his teammates. It was the All-Star Game was obviously on an off day, and they needed a participant from the 80s, and his teammates said, "Ryan, why don't you represent the 80s?" And he did, and he'll talk about that and all of his other responsibilities and how he prepares for games and how he's evolved as a player in our interview.
Oh, that's great. Well, let's play that interview. We'll catch everybody on the back half of that, talk about what's coming up next week in the Pecos League, and we'll see everybody in just a few minutes.
Well, we're here at the Sleep Inn in Blackwell, Oklahoma, in the conference room. We're getting ready to designate the Sleep Inn as the official podcast headquarters of this podcast because this is the 3rd interview we're doing. We're here with Ryan Lutinski, who's with the North Platte 80s. It's his 2nd year. Good morning, Ryan.
Hey, good morning, Evan. How's it going today?
Good. It's a little rainy out. It's not sure if we're going to be playing today or not. I'm sure they're going to be inspecting the field up at in Morgan Field in Blackwell. But I wanted to welcome Ryan to the podcast, and we're going to talk about his college background. He's in the North Platte 80s for the 2nd year, and he's also does some work on the field when we're at home at Bill Wood Field. He's going to talk about that as well. Ryan, why don't we start with just talking about your college background? You're one of the COVID college players, and if anyone looks you up on Baseball Reference, they're going to see 6 years of college baseball, which I think years in the future people are going to wonder how that happened. But why don't you talk a little bit about your background in college baseball at Mount St. Mary's?
Yeah, so I actually graduated high school in 2017. and then I went to Mount St. Mary College in the Hudson Valley of New York. It's in Newburgh, New York. It's a beautiful school, beautiful campus. Played 2 years there. Had a good summer season in the NYCBL, and tried to look for Division II and Division I offers, and transferred to American International College, which is in Springfield, Mass. Looking for an athletic scholarship, and it was an exciting opportunity. That opportunity came to an end in 3 games after we were in Florida playing Barry University or Barry College. That COVID hit us down there, so we packed up our things and came home. And then I was at home for the rest of the spring and coaching at the facilities near me until they closed down as well. But decided to transfer back to my college of Mount St. Mary College and finish up my degree there.
So how would you describe your amount of playing time you got, and what kind of player were you in college as you look back? How would you describe yourself?
Yeah, so I went in as a catcher outfielder. Found some time behind the plate, and my sophomore year split time as a catcher. Got recruited to go to AIC. They're in the NE10 conference. I went there as a catcher. And after COVID hit, kind of found my role more as a DH when I went back to Mount St. Mary College. And then I kind of had to realize that I had to drop some pounds, which I did. I was around 260 pounds after COVID, and I had to drop down to about 220 to be able to play the outfield, and that's what I did. So I found my way back into the lineup by playing right field, left field, and able to move around in the corner outfield positions.
So I think it looks like you've played just about every position. Did you have a favorite position that you enjoyed the most or got the most satisfaction out of in college?
Yeah, I'd say catching is still my favorite position. Having the ability to control the game, and you feel like you have so much more control over every pitch, every sequence, and things that are going on that you see. When I'm in the outfield now, you see things in hitters' swings that you're able to yell out, but there's only so many things you could say. I love the ability to be behind the dish and pick up on certain things from hitters and chat with them and almost get in their head as well, where you can really have an impact on the game on both sides of the ball. I've also found that when I'm catching too, you have to wipe whatever happens at your at bat, you have to wipe it right out, and then you have a job to do behind the dish. So you can't be worried about striking out or grounding out, because you have to move on and help your pitcher out and help your defense out. Whereas if you go to the outfield, there's more time to think about stuff, which is definitely a real thing in baseball.
How did you develop that? I mean, that seems to be a pretty important trait to develop in baseball, having a short memory. I mean, on the one hand, you want to have a long memory because you want to remember hitters, remember situations, and that sort of thing. But you also have the ups and downs during the game of at bats, or if something doesn't go right in the field. How did you develop the ability to be able to get past those frustrating moments or moments that didn't go the way you want?
Well, I had a really great coach in the NYCBL, Coach Grimm. And he always said to us that this game has been here long before us and it'll be here long after us. And I take that into account when I think of something bad happening in a game. This is just a small blip in the game that, it's not going to determine the outcome of the history of baseball. This is just something that happens. We have to move on. We have to, move on to the next play and the next out. And there's so much history in baseball, and you only remember the big things, the big good things a lot of the time, sometimes the bad things, but we like to look for the good things in it, and I like to keep my mindset on that.
So you graduated Mount St. Mary's 23, 24? 22, yeah.
So I got my master's.
Oh, okay.
So I went back to college.
Okay.
In 23, I got my So I got my undergrad in 22 in finance, and then I went back and got my master's in business administration 23 and 24.
Oh, okay.
I was there.
But you were still playing baseball.
Still playing baseball, because I had the years of eligibility.
We have to remember, of course, that years ago when someone went to play college baseball, they were a senior and they graduated. With the COVID rules and this and that, we've got a lot of master's degrees ball players on there, and you got 17-year-olds and 24-year-olds in the same roster.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, in 2023, I was going back for my final year of college baseball, and we were down in Florida again, and I hit a deep fly ball to left center field off of Rutgers Newark, and I thought it was gone, and it hit the top of the wall, came back down, so I started digging it a little more, and I snapped my ankle coming around first base, full fracture. So that was the end of the season there. Had to get surgery and stuff, and the recovery process was really long. Like, I thought that'd be the end of my baseball career, but in the back of my mind, I knew that I didn't want to go out like that. So I did all the recovery and everything and came back for the 2024 season, and that's when I talked to Todd.
Okay, so this is 2025. This is your second year with the North Platte 80s. You were with the 80s in their inaugural season in 2024. Can you talk about how you ended up in North Platte? I mean, you're in Easton, Connecticut. North Platte is about 2,000 miles away. It's their first year having a baseball team. How did you end up here in North Platte last year?
Yeah, so I was up in Mount St. Mary College, finishing up my last year at grad school, playing baseball, and having a pretty good spring. At the time when I talked to Todd, I was hitting around 400, and I had a hot bat, and I was talking to one of my old coaches at Mount St. Mary, and he said, well, I went and played in the Pecos League for 2 years for, I think it was the Amberjacks. You should go out and try it. And I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. I want to keep playing. I want to do it. And so he's like, here, talk to J.D. Droddy. And so J.D. Droddy reached out to a few teams for me, and the North Platte 80s was still looking for players because obviously the inaugural season, and that's always a better shot, finding a roster spot.
Right. So the Amberjacks, of course, were in the California, the Pacific Division, and J.D. Droddy is a longtime Pecos League senior person. I don't know exactly what his title is. I think he may have been affiliated with the league from the beginning. So because when the 80s started last year, it was their first year, and Tucson trained in North Platte, and the 80s got some of the players that were cut by Tucson. And I remember I had talked to Todd. I remember when I talked to him when he got the job, and have been in touch with him since, and he was talking about scrambling to find guys. So you were the right place at the right time, and you got in quite a few games last year, if I'm not mistaken. You played most of the season.
Yeah, I played opening night there against Tucson, had a good game, and we almost beat Tucson. We had them there opening night at North Platte. That would have been a great win. We fell a little short there towards the end, but I ended up playing. I think I had around over 100 at bats, playing right field majority. I also caught a few games and played first a few games, played left a few games. So definitely have embraced that utility role of being able to go wherever Coach Todd needs me on the field.
How did you find the transition from the level of competition from college baseball, and also the playing daily in college? You're playing 3 or 4 games a week, maybe 5. You're playing every day here. The weather is more difficult. The travel is more difficult. How did you make that transition from college to professional baseball in the Pecos League?
Yeah, from a level standpoint, my swing in college, I kind of got into, I dug myself into a hole out here. In college, I was able to swing at the first pitch and drive that first pitch almost whenever I wanted. But here, I started to get carved up a little bit because I was too jumping at whatever pitch they were giving me. I think the pitchers are smarter out here. Sure, the velocity might be similar at times, but I think that pitchers know how to pitch more out here. They're more experienced. We did see some great arms last year. Eli Davis of Blackwell I think he was NAIA Player of the Year. He was a great pitcher. We had Wilbur Rodriguez throwing 97 from Roswell. We faced him. So there's definitely an experience level that's different out here that you don't see when you're facing these 19, 20-year-old college kids. But you have to adapt, and I did a lot of my adapting in the off season. When you're in season, it's very tough to make major adjustments because you don't have a lot of time to do so. You don't have a lot of energy to do so because you're going from hotel to hotel, and you might find 30 minutes to hit in a cage if you have the energy in the 105-degree heat. So last year I had to drop my bat down to a 33-inch bat, which I haven't swung since high school. So, but this year I gained some strength, and I'm back to swinging the bat I usually swing. So,
tell me about that. Actually, I think it was early in the season. We were chatting during batting practice in right field, and I don't remember how it came up, but you talked about doing some work in the off season at the facility that you work at. And could you talk a little bit about that? Because I'm looking at it from a coaching perspective, and I'm looking at your stats last year and this year. We're going to talk about your stats this year. There's definitely a difference. What did you do in the off season that has transitioned you into a much more dangerous hitter?
Yeah, so I had to do some reflecting in the off season, kind of put the ego aside and say, why isn't my swing working? I could hit the ball, 105 plus, but why am I not getting on base? And the problem that I found was my bat wasn't staying through the zone. I had a choppy swing. I was too out in front on off speed. And working at the clubhouse facility in Connecticut, a great facility. I work there as well. I do lessons with kids and coach teams. They use the blast sensor, and Mike Porzio, who owns the facility, an ex-MLBer, he pitched with the Brewers and the White Sox for years, and he broke down my swing and said, you have the strength, you have the ability, but your swing is crap, and you have to fix it. And so we broke it down all winter long, all fall, all spring, and we worked on it using the blast sensor. My main issue was on-plane efficiency. Now, some of the best players in the world, Trout, Ohtani, their on-plane efficiency is around 90%.
And what does that measure exactly?
It measures how long their barrel is staying through the hitting zone.
Okay.
Whereas when I got there in the fall, my barrel was staying through the hitting zone around 45% of the time, which is only allowing me to hit 45% of the pitches that I can physically hit. So I worked at it, and now I like to consistently stay around 85% to 90% in the hitting zone. Another huge thing that I wanted to work on is my barrel was too fast where my hands were too slow. So you want your hands to be, the best players in the world swing with their hands around 25 to 30 miles per hour, whereas my hands were working around 18 to 19 miles per hour, and my bat was too fast. So I had to slow down my bat but speed up my hands. Now I've been working, and I got my hands to around 25 miles per hour, 26 miles per hour. So they're in a good spot where I don't have to use, like if you watch some of the best players, their bats in the MLB average around 72 miles per hour, which means that they could swing the bat at 85 miles per hour if they want to, but their connection is going to be a lot lower, like their chance of hitting the ball. So just breaking down a lot of these things in the swing, improving on-plane efficiency, which means just creating that barrel through the hitting zone for a longer period of time has really helped me. I'd say it also helped me open up the right side of the field for my swing. In college, I would usually work through the left side of the field. I was a pull hitter. And this year, I hit a majority of my balls to right field now. So, it's working.
Well, I'll do the bragging for you here, Ryan. So you're hitting well over 400. You've got a slugging average over 500. Your OPS is over 1,000. I have lost track of the number of important hits that you've gotten. You're also coming off the bench. You're not starting every game. You're asked to come up and pinch hit. And So it sounds like that there's two parts of the equation here. You've done a great job explaining how you have worked on the efficiency of your swing. But can you talk a little bit about how you prepare? I mean, you're a part-time outfielder. I don't know if you maybe gotten some innings behind the plate, I can't remember, but you've been called upon to pinch hit in some really important situations. The other day, for example, we're in Garden City, we're down by a run, there's 2 outs in the top of the 9th, you come up and hit a home run. But other times you've come in and pinch hit and gotten hits in important situations. How do you prepare for those moments when you haven't been in the game? You talked about the flow of the game earlier and thinking about the game and learning about what you've seen. And maybe you're doing that on the bench and you're preparing, but you're on the bench. Todd says, Ryan, I'm going to have you hit for the pitcher here, or I'm going to have you hit for the right fielder here. How do you prepare yourself mentally so you're able to execute what you learned so well in the off season?
Yeah, so I like to. I've been in that situation before in college. I'm used to being that guy that could just come in and do it because I've had that experience DHing. Especially something that has helped me is that playing in the Northeast, we're used to playing in temperatures that are sub 25 degrees, 20 degrees, and snowing. And when you're DHing and it's a long inning out on their field, and your team gets into the dugout, you got to refocus and get re-warmed up as a DH. I've always kind of had that, that mental ability to just stay ready and locked in throughout the whole game. It's not a fiery locked in, it's not a overwhelming locked in, but the mental side of it's always there. So I'm used to doing that kind of thing because of my background in DHing when I had to. And now we're out here where, it's nice where we're playing in the summer. We don't have to worry about the snow and,
Right,
and anything getting pulling muscles from being 20 degrees. So, just also in the back of my mind, I kind of expect it. I visualize it before it happens. I kind of get my stuff ready to go. And if Coach Todd ended up calling on someone else, that's completely fine, but at least I'm ready to go. I don't want to be that guy that's, and even if I did have to scramble and I was down catching a bullpen or something, it would still be fine. I'd just take a pitch and then hit the next one to right field.
So, you also had a surprise the other day. There was the All-Star game was in Garden City. We had 5 players named to that team, but there were some other players from other teams that couldn't make it, and we were advised to bring more players down. You traveled down with the 80s, and there was going to be a home run derby before the game. Tell me, how is it that you ended up representing the 80s in the home run derby? Yeah,
so the commissioner of the league asked Kobe Tweeten, who I traveled down with, Kobe, you want to do the home run derby? We need to rep from the 80s. Kobe's like, no, I got to go warm up for the game. Then he asked Rico Riley, another one of our power hitters, and Rico goes, I got to go throw and warm up too. He's like, Ski, you want to do it? And I'm like, let's do it. I just got out of the car. My stuff was still in the car. So I ran to the car, grabbed my stuff, and quickly got warmed up, took some swings, and then we went after it in the home run derby. So that was one of the cool experiences of the summer so far. Definitely, that was a lot of fun.
You hit 3, as I recall, and I think you're probably at the top of the list in terms of the total number. Was that almost the equivalent of pinch hitting? I mean, you're down there with the driver down the car, you're not thinking about it, and all of a sudden, boom, you're standing at the plate in an important situation? Exactly,
yeah. Definitely that same kind of feel of going from nothing to big spotlight moment. It's fun though. I would definitely do it again if I definitely want to hit a few more, but it's a tough park for righties. I was trying to go. The problem is it's 260 to right field and 360 to left. So trying to go with every pitch is tough to do. You're trying to just throw hands and put it over the right field fence. But I would have liked to hit a couple more. I think I could have hit a couple more if I did it again.
Was the pressure any different? I know it wasn't a game, but did it feel different, like with everybody watching you versus being in a game? Did it feel any different, or did it feel more almost like a game?
It was similar to a game. Definitely, it's different when you're trying to hit home runs because you don't try to do that in a game. But it was a great experience. You know, the fans were getting into it. You kind of build off that atmosphere. So it wasn't a nerve thing. It was more of just trying to pick the right pitch because we had a timer going. It was also pretty hot out there, and it was like around 100 with the turf. So I was pretty burnt out after 2.5 minutes went by. But it was a great experience. Marcus Bracey, great hitter from Blackwell. He ended up winning it with 6 seconds left on the clock on his last swing. So just cool to be in that atmosphere, talking to like Miguel Tejada Jr. He was on FaceTime with his dad, MLBer for years. He was on FaceTime with him in the dugout, and just being able to talk to like people like that. It was just a great experience to be in the dugout with them.
And you also looked the part. You looked great with the red jersey and the headband. You certainly looked the part for the home run derby. So there's another aspect to your contributions to the 80s this year. When we're home, we have to do a lot of field work. It rains. We have to put dirt on the field. We have to get it spread out. We have to get the right texture. And it appears like you're the head groundskeeper there. You sit in the Gator, the motorized vehicle that drags the screen and drags the spikes. How is it that you got involved in field maintenance? And can you talk a little bit about I mean, people probably look at you sitting on the Gator driving around thinking, oh, he just sits in that thing and drives it around. But there is an art to managing the field with the right equipment and the right way. How did you get involved in field maintenance at Bill Wood Field, and talk a little bit about what it takes to help prepare that field after it rains?
Yeah, so it's a lot of work. Bill Wood Field takes on water very poorly, but it's fine because there's something to be said about the camaraderie with the team when you're out there working on a field since 8 a.m. and the opposing team is sleeping in their apartments or hotels, and we're out there wanting to get this game in, because come game time, you don't want to lose when you spend 8 hours on a field working on it all day. I think that background comes from me. I work when I'm home in the mornings. I'll work for my town's Parks and Rec, and we work on a lot of baseball fields in town. I'm from Easton, Connecticut. It's a small town, about 5,000 people, and it's a farm town. So we embrace our baseball fields, our softball fields, football fields. So, having that respect for the environment that you're in, and North Platte's pretty similar, where they really embrace. We see a lot of the community members come out and help us with the field as well. So I love, working on the field and getting it as good as we could get it for game time, because without that hard work before, you can't. You don't have that ability to play that game that night. When dragging the field, it's important. I like to do the figure eights when it's wet. You go the circles when it's dry, mixing up the patterns of dragging and spiking and rolling the field. And we just do, it's a team effort really to get the field ready for game time.
Well, it is really true. You mentioned 8 hours. I mean, there are days we've been there at 9 o'clock in the morning for an hour and a half, let it dry. We've come back at noon, 1 o'clock, left, and then come back again before. I mean, that's the other thing about you've got guys who are trying to get ready for the game, guys who are trying to get workouts in, trying to get fed, trying to do laundry, and it can be really, really demanding. And also, what about the foul lines in the batter's box? I mean, that's more like a fine art compared to the dragging of the infield.
Exactly, yeah. And when I'm home doing work in the mornings on baseball fields in Connecticut, it's so like it just comes so easy to me that I just kind of do. I do it without even the box or the string lines. I just free draw it. So it's just, I've done it so many times. I've worked on baseball fields for so long that it's I like working on them as well, because you get a sense of the ground when you're walking out that line. You see everything. You see if a bunt rolls down, if I'm playing first base, or if a bunt or catching and a bunt rolls down the line, you're able to really see the grounds of what's going on in the game. When I'm in right field and I know that there's ruts out there because I've walked that line 50 times, like I know I have an idea of where the ball's going to play. So I think it's an important part of the game to understand what's going on the field, and there's an art to it, it's nice. It's nice being able to do that work. And although it's tough on the body sometimes, I think it makes you stronger to be out there in the heat and then be able to bounce back and do your training and play a game more than just sitting around and being an AC and waiting for the game to happen.
All right, well, we're going to wrap up here. You've been in the Pecos League for 2 years. You've traveled pretty much to all the other locations. You drive thousands of miles. If you were going to put together a mini survival guide for a new player, what would be the 2 or 3 or 4 things that you would say that a player needs to be prepared for to be able to get through a Pecos League season?
Yeah. I would say have a good support system around you. Have people back home that you could talk to on the phone before and after games. Have a good group of buddies that you meet in spring training that you're able to travel with. Because in the Pecos League, most teams drive themselves, as you guys probably know. But so you're in a car with these guys for 8 to 10 hours and just chit-chatting about baseball and life and everything. So you want to find a good group of guys. Another thing is nutrition, which I've been trying to do a better job this year with rather than last year, to getting your body to be able to get through that 55 game or 60, whatever it is, season of 100 and something degree heat. It's very taxing on the body. So hydration is a huge thing, as well as making sure you get your lifts in the mornings or after games or at some point during the day, and not letting your strength go away. Because last year my strength really went away as I came from my spring season to the summer season. So I'm trying to keep up with that this year and leave just as strong or stronger than I was when I got here. Whereas last year I was very weak when I left because I let my body deteriorate a little bit throughout the season. So strength is another big thing. And also just embrace every moment and just have fun, because this game doesn't last forever for us players, and just being able to enjoy the moments instead of stressing on the high pressure moments. Just enjoy those, little moments a little more, So really it's a great opportunity for players to take a chance at moving up. And I think the more fun you have with it, the more you embrace the work and the grind, then your chances become greater at succeeding, rather than stressing about am I even good enough to be here. You should focus on the things that are going right.
That's great. Well, thanks for your insight, Ryan, on hitting, field maintenance, and surviving the Pecos League. Hopefully we'll be playing Blackwell tonight, and good luck tonight, whatever your role is going to be.
Thank you, Evan. Thanks for having me on.
All right, we're back. You're listening to Baseball's Last Frontier, stories from the Pecos League. I'm Bruce McClure, and I'm here with supposed chess champion Evan Katz, North Platte 80s bullpen coach. Evan, that's good stuff with Ryan.
It was so great. It was a really insightful interview on a whole bunch of areas. I had no idea about his experience in field maintenance. He had mentioned to me the work he did in the off season working on his swing path, because he is a totally different hitter than he was last year. And then also sharing his mindset, but how he prepares. How do you come off the bench to pinch hit and be effective? And he seems to do it over and over and over again. And he has developed a routine that really works for him. And it was great that he was able to share that with our listeners.
Man, preparedness. If there was a list of guys who had a laissez-faire attitude toward preparedness in baseball, that list would be pretty long when you sit with Ryan and you see how he, I guess the word is obsesses about being prepared. The kid's a success, and it's great to hear.
Well, again, you talk about players that are able to move up and players that are successful in professional baseball. I mean, one of the things that we often hear is that the skill levels, there's not that much difference separating the guys as they move up the chain towards Major League Baseball, but it's the mental mindset and it's the preparedness that often makes the difference.
That's right. Hey, let's talk about the upcoming games this week. You are are you in Garden City today? Where are you?
Garden City Sleep In, right here in room 103. And it's an off day today. And as we were packing up at the park last night, I heard players talking about getting to Garden City early so they can go to the water park today. Their off day.
They're still kids.
And tomorrow we have an actual makeup game, a one game stand here. We travel 240 miles to Trinidad for a game Tuesday and Wednesday. And as I mentioned last week, I'm going to be looking for the Southwest Chief coming through at 6:49 on the train tracks beyond the outfield when we're there. That was mentioned in one of our earlier,
That's right.
our earlier programs. It's really one of the fun things about minor league baseball, seeing a train rumble by the outfield the same time every day.
I need that report from you as to whether or not Amtrak is still on time out there.
We'll let you know. And then, so after Trinidad, our final 400-mile segment, completing our 6,000 miles of travel on the road. And only 2 players have speeding tickets, and I'll qualify this, that I'm aware of. So we'll find out what the final tally is when we get back to North Platte, where we have 6 regular season games ending on Tuesday, the 29th. We're playing Kansas City, Iola for 3, and Blackwell for 3. And we're hoping to secure the home field for the wild card round of the playoffs. It looks like we have a very good chance of qualifying based on the total team standings. So that's where we are heading into the last 10 days of the regular season.
So tell me a little bit about the playoffs and the wild card round. How does that work?
So 2 wild card teams from the Mountain Division qualify. However, if the wild card teams are from the different divisions, so if we have one from the north and one from the south, rather than the wild card teams playing, the wild card teams will stay in their division to play the second place team. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. It looks like I think Alpine and Pecos are going to be one of the wild card teams in the south. So we will likely play Blackwell if everything holds right now, and it'll be a 2 out of 3. If we win that, we would go on to play Garden City 2 out of 3 for the North Championship, and then we would play the South Champ, and then we make it to the finals. We play the representative from the Pacific Division. So there's 4 rounds potentially.
All right, well, we'll keep checking in to see how North Platte does as they finish up the regular season. But for more information on the Pecos League, check out their website at pecosleague.com. You can catch all the action this year at pecosleague.tv as well. And finally, if you're a hardcore baseball fan, you need to join the Society for American Baseball Research, the premier baseball community. Offering an amazing baseball buffet of options to explore your fandom, SABR boasts more than 35 different research committees, over 80 regional chapters, and innumerable opportunities to connect with baseball minds across the world. For more information, go to sabr.org today. Evan, last licks, go.
Want to give best wishes to my chess partner, Ben Smith, who has been promoted and signed by the Billings Mustangs of the Pioneer League. He's the first player from North Platte to move to a higher level league this season. He took his 4-2 record, 3.67 ERA, which is about half the league average. I don't know what that is in ERA plus, but it's pretty high. And he's averaging about a strikeout per inning. The Pioneer League is one of 4 independent leagues that partners with MLB on experimental initiatives like bigger bases, automated strike zone, and varied pitching distance. Ben will be the Mustang starter in a game in the next few days. Pitching in the Pioneer League is going to be a challenge, but Ben is prepared. He's got the stuff. He's got multiple pitches. He throws in the upper 80s. If he can keep his spot on the roster, he's got an upside that can be tapped to make him an even better pitcher. So we're really excited for Ben. And in the old days, I would have said to Ben, we can play chess by mail. Now I suppose we can play chess online, but I'm not going to bother him. He's got much more on his plate. So we're just wishing Ben luck with the Billings Mustangs in the Pioneer League.
All right, Ben, if you're listening, go get them out there. Let's hear about some good stuff from you going forward. But let's get everybody out of here. We'll see everybody next week. He's Evan Katz. I'm Bruce McClure. We'll talk to you later. Thanks for listening.